Good evening. Welcome to the Strategic Planning segment of the Education 760 class, Week 6. Tonight we will be studying pages 1 through 50 of Robert Ewey's book, Stakeholder-Driven Strategic Planning in Education. No school district becomes excellent without a strategic plan, but many remain mediocre with them. So what makes a difference? Here are 6 guiding questions for our study tonight. We will define strategic planning and why it is important for a school district. We will also discuss the individuals who should participate in the development of the plan. We will learn about the Baldrige strategic planning model and why Baldrige is an important strategic planning effort used in school districts. We will also touch upon the Baldrige criteria and how these criteria are implemented in a school district. And lastly, best practices focused on the development of a strategic plan will be discussed. Here is Jim Collins' educational flywheel described in Ewey's book, described in Collins' book, Good to Great. The circles you see represent the success drivers of a school district's heavy flywheel. It requires disciplined attention to each of the drivers in a school district through its strategic plan. Attention to each of these success drivers builds the momentum a school district needs to become one of the truly great school districts in the nation. The circle at the top is a willingness of stakeholders to invest in the school district. This investment builds a strong teaching and learning culture where the capacity and capabilities of educators and staff are built, which then builds quality learning experiences for students. Because of quality learning experiences, results of student learning are realized. Here you see many different strategic planning models. If you search the internet, you will also see many types of strategic planning efforts described. For purposes of this class, we will be focusing on Missouri's Comprehensive School Improvement Plan model, otherwise known as CSIP, and the Baldrige model described in Ewey's book. On your strategic planning project, you will be comparing and contrasting your own district's CSIP with Ewey's model described in the book with Baldrige. Meet the CEO of Midway USA, Larry Potterfield. Larry's multi-million-dollar company is located just a few miles west of Columbia at the Midway exit. Go to Week 6 folder on the Google Share Drive and watch this video and be able to describe why Larry has experienced great success with his company. The Word doc under the Week 6 folder will need to be opened, and you will click on the hyperlink to view the video. After watching the video, you heard Larry Potterfield attribute his company's success with the development and deployment of a strong vision during a very difficult time due to the Sandy Hook tragedy. Because of this tragedy, the company had to change course and make an adjustment in its vision, purpose, mission, and values. What you see on this slide represents Midway's overall mission statement. It begins at the top with a vision, which focuses on the future. Next, you see the company's purpose, which describes why the company exists. Following the purpose, you see the mission, which depicts what Midway does as a company. And finally, you see the values, which are the non-negotiable family principles that guide the organization. When you watched the video of Larry, you heard him identify the Baldrige model as the strategic planning model used at Midway to guide continuous improvement. It so happens that Potterfield's company, or Larry Potterfield, served on Columbia Public Schools' CSIP Strategic Planning Steering Committee. You can see from this slide Larry had an impact on the strategic planning process in Columbia Public Schools. Columbia modeled their mission statement after Midway's, and you probably see many similarities. However, there are slight differences in definitions. For example, Midway defined mission as what we do, while Columbia Public Schools defined mission as why we exist. Another difference is the definition of purpose. Midway defines purpose as why we exist, and Columbia defines purpose as what we do. From these examples, definitions of strategic planning components can vary, and that's okay, because the strategic planning process must be a stakeholder-driven process, so stakeholders own the plan. The process for creating a long-range mission, vision, goals, and strategies is the heart of strategic planning. The plan focuses equally on the what, the purpose and direction, and the how, the goals and strategies. A mission statement is a description of what the school district ultimately wants to accomplish. When a strategic planning team gives attention to a mission statement, they have three choices. They can bless the current statement, modify the statement, or develop a completely new mission. In my experience as a CSIP facilitator, I've witnessed all three, and it depends on what the core planning team decides. With any of these options, it's important that the planning team give time and effort to this decision. It's not often that a school district has the opportunity to work on their long-range mission and vision for improvement. Therefore, time should be given to the process because a mission statement is the force behind a high-performing culture. A vision is a school district's desired future state for long-range improvement. Its vision is where it would like to be at the end of a period of time. A vision statement can be a source of motivation and pride as a planning team thinks about the school district and what it might look like in the future. A vision statement gives a bit more detail to the mission and gives stakeholders a sense of confidence that the mission is actually achievable. The vision should be a brief statement that stakeholders can always remember. If you recall, Columbia's mission, describing their desired future state, is to be the best school district in the state. Here are questions a core planning team can use to brainstorm ideas for their vision. I wished I would have used these questions as a facilitator. They are good ones, and I appreciate you offering them to us for our use as practitioners. As you can see, they help stakeholders paint a picture of a school district's future state. If you go to the Word document under the Week 6 folder, click on the link called America Needs Baldrige. You will find all sorts of strategic planning resources to help your planning team develop its mission statement as well as vision and goals and strategies. Larry believes so much in the Baldrige process. He offers these resources free of charge for your use. In fact, each month, Larry invites organizations and school districts from the Mid-Missouri area to luncheon sessions where he and his team offer strategic planning tips. So why should a school district have a process for strategic planning? Districts who have such a process are seen as proactive in meeting challenges and issues rather than seen as reactive or crisis-prone in responding to challenges. Organizations and school districts who utilize strategic planning for ongoing improvement routinely develop long-term goals and strategies. They take action on those goals and strategies. They monitor their progress and then modify their plans over time by making mid-course corrections. In fact, UE talks about research showing that organizations with practical strategic plans consistently outperform comparable organizations that do not have such plans. A stakeholder-driven strategic planning process has three premises that guide all of their planning activities. First, they believe that organizational excellence is the only goal worth pursuing. Secondly, organizational excellence means using the Baldrige criteria to guide their improvement efforts. And thirdly, the way you get to organizational excellence is managing the performance of the entire organization. Click on the orange hyperlink called Strategic Planning Fort Worth under the Week 6 folder. Look for these three premises in the Fort Worth School District. When a district is developing the plan, the core planning team needs to ensure that the plan aligns with existing district board policies and gives not only the administration, but staff the support and time needed to use their expertise and resources to achieve the district's mission. The Baldrige strategic planning model promotes these areas you see on this slide, which need to be optimized if organizational excellence is to be achieved. All areas are aligned and support one another to paint the big picture for continuous improvement in a school district. Throughout this presentation and in week 7, we'll be talking about alignment, deployment, and process improvement. All 3 areas align to one another to support organizational excellence. Here you are looking at integral pieces to the strategic planning process. A strategic plan is implemented successfully if these pieces are included in the plan. They include the core planning team making sure the plan consists of clear statements of the challenges or opportunities for improvement the district faces over the next few years, carefully and defined statements of student and institutional performance requirements, clear statements of what our stakeholders will use to evaluate quality, clear understanding of the priorities of the school district. We all know the term less is more. So what will the district focus on and prioritize? A sense of what the district might do to delight stakeholders. Delight stakeholders is a Baldrige term. Another Baldrige term is deployment. So how does the strategic plan include steps for deployment of the strategic plan? And of course, in order for the strategic plan to be successful, the community must be a strong ally and friend. So who should be on the core strategic planning team? Members should include the folks within your school district who have the greatest responsibility for deploying the plan. The core planning team also has core responsibilities to gather data for the needs assessment as well as developing parts of the plan. The core of the planning team should include members of the Board of Education, the superintendent, and other central office administrators. In Columbia Public Schools, the superintendent was able to persuade all 7 board members to be on the CSIP core planning team. This strategy made it very easy for the board to unanimously approve the CSIP when it was ready for approval. A brilliant move by the superintendent, Dr. Chris Belcher. Here you see functions of that core planning team. They must do all 5 of these bulleted areas in order for ownership of the strategic plan to be present. On the next few slides, we'll take a look at each of these bulleted areas. The core planning team must conduct an environmental scan, which is a scan of the future to see what might have an impact on the school district. Formal processes and documents used in the environmental scan can include demographic projections, a trend analysis showing the future, and scenario development, where you might gather different pieces of research, and based on that research, think about scenarios that might take place in your school district in the future. For more information on how to conduct an environmental scan, please go to the Week 6 folder, click on the Word document called Videos, and view this video on environmental scan. The first most important task for strategic planning is for the core planning team to develop a forced choice survey to solicit input from staff and community members. The forced choice survey should include 4 questions that are focused on the greatest challenges and issues our school district has to address over the next 5 years, the most important skills and ability students need to know and be able to do, and what the community and staff members believe in terms of evidence that would be used to evaluate the quality of education in the school district. And what should the financial priorities be for the school district in the coming years, particularly the next 5 years? This survey also needs to include 2 narrative open-ended questions, which are very much Baldrige-type questions. What could the school district do that would delight you? And 2, what information or advice would you give the strategic planning team as they make important decisions about long-term improvement? The core strategic planning team must determine the survey confidence level. In other words, the team needs to determine how many surveys are needed to be collected to achieve a 95% confidence level with a plus minus 2 or 3 interval or sampling error. For more information on how to determine the survey confidence level, click on this hyperlink under the Week 6 folder. A question will always come up about how to know if the survey results are a reflection of the total community. Unless the team commits to a rigorous stratified random sampling process, the truthful answer is that you can't know. But the answer to this problem is Laswell's community sectors, which can be used to guide the survey response collection process. He recommends getting responses from these 8 sectors of the community in order to ensure a representative sample. The sectors are listed on this slide with a brief suggestion of the types of people you would need to represent each segment with your survey. The core planning team takes the Laswell sectors and they brainstorm how to collect survey responses from each group. All data from survey should be aggregated into one, but they could also be separated into parent, community, and staff in terms of a disaggregation. Oftentimes, community meetings are used to collect the data. The availability should be such that everyone in the community has easy access to the survey form. And district staff information should always be valued. Later in this presentation, we will talk about the core planning team using Pareto charts to help the team determine strategic plan priorities based on survey results. So what is the Baldrige process? It was a process that was developed in 1987, but it wasn't until the year 2000 that the model was adopted for education. You will learn with the rest of these slides specific criteria for using the Baldrige model as a self-assessment tool so that your opportunities for aligning, deploying, improving, and integrating the organization's management system is in place. It's used in school districts as a great diagnostic tool in the strategic planning process to identify your school district's strengths and their opportunities for improvement, often called OFIs. The organizational review process with Baldrige is designed to assist an organization in identifying their strengths and their OFIs when measured against the Baldrige criteria. The result of such a review process is a summary of the relative strength of each of the 7 Baldrige categories from the perspective of those who know the district best. The purpose of this review is to stimulate discussion among senior leaders within the school district about alignment, deployment, and improvement of issues and opportunities. This review is used as an initial step in the long-term use of the Baldrige criteria to drive the school district to performance excellence. In order to start the Baldrige process, it starts with the superintendent leading a questionnaire data collection process. Information from this review is very important and participation in filling out the questionnaire is non-negotiable. People who fill out the questionnaire should have a high-level perspective of the school district, the Board of Education members, senior leaders, and principals. The data collection process should be as anonymous as possible. This particular beginning to the Baldrige process is only the key people in your school district, again, who have a high-level perspective of the school district. This questionnaire is not the survey that we talked about earlier that you're giving to stakeholders, parents, faculty, staff, and community. This is just kind of a self-assessment with the key senior leaders in your school district. Figure 3.1 on page 27 shows an example of the Baldrige criteria aligned questionnaire that has been used by many school districts and their senior leaders to identify organizational strengths and opportunities for improvement. In our next class, we will use this questionnaire to assess your own school district against these 7 Baldrige criteria, and we'll talk more about exactly who should take this questionnaire. Again, it's not the big survey that you're going to give to all of your stakeholders. This is just giving an opportunity for your internal senior leaders to self-assess themselves against the Baldrige criteria. When a core planning team is developing their survey of results, it must be done as described on pages 36 and 37. Pareto charts, as shown on the diagram on page 37, help separate the significant results from the insignificant results. UE again offers this tool as an effective strategy to help the core planning team prioritize. Again, as a CSIP facilitator, I wished our core planning team would have used Pareto charts to assist in identification of significant categories as opposed to less significant ones. And I really need to clarify that this use of Pareto charts can be used with that self-analysis as well with your core planning team, and also with the larger survey results of your stakeholders, being parents, faculty, and community members. The prioritized list from the Pareto chart will appear as focus areas for the strategic plan because these areas are identified as challenges for a school district. Pareto charts identify the significant challenges a school district needs to address, which helps the planning team identify student learning targets. Student learning targets identified by the team align with the second forced choice survey question. What do we want our students to know and be able to do to be prepared for success in college and careers? Pages 44 and 45 present several samples of student learning targets from Baldrige winning school districts. The orange font is a hyperlink that shows examples of student learning targets in public schools implementing Baldrige. Please watch this video by accessing this information under the Week 6 folder. Montgomery County Schools in Maryland is a National Baldrige Award winner. Here are several videos you can watch where different elements of the Baldrige processes are implemented. Again, you may access these videos under the Week 6 folder. A strategic plan example is shown on pages 47 through 50, where you can see a robust strategic plan utilizing the Baldrige criteria, where a mission, vision, and challenges are identified in District 93. Additionally, student learning targets are identified aligned to the challenges or the OFIs of the school district. This slide presents a summary of the Baldrige criteria utilized by schools who have gone from good to great in achieving performance excellence. In order for a strategic planning process to get the results needed, it must include a review of your current levels of performance within the school district. and the best criteria to use for such a process is the Baldrige criteria. This review process uses the method of identifying gaps between current and expected performance so that a district is able to identify the strategy decisions that are most important in accomplishing how the strategic plan will be deployed. And then the review process sets up baseline data the district can use as it progresses with deployment activities. We will get into more detail of setting baseline data and identifying these gaps in week 7. Here you see next week's assignments. Please read UI's pages 51 through 106, where we will delve deeper into the Baldrige Strategic Planning Model. In addition, please read the article, The Pitfalls of Strategic Planning. This article can be found under the Week 6 folder on the Google Drive. Thank you for your time this evening, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.